Let's go over how to make up a sample for NMR spectroscopy. Let's look at liquids first. Okay. Now, in any situation, we need deuterated solvent. Okay, so the solvent, the main portion of the sample, does not have protons that will be seen in the NMR spectrum. So we use deuterated chloroform, in which the proton has been replaced by deuterium, so chloroform D. This is a stock bottle with a pipette that we only use for dispensing that solvent. We also need an NMR tube, which is a skinny glass tube. These are expensive and fragile, so don't just throw them away. Alright, so first let's take a look at if we have a sample of a large quantity of liquid. Alright, like this Erlenmeyer flask is a lot of sample. You just grab a clean pipette, draw up some of that liquid, okay, and then we're going to put just a couple of drops into the top of that NMR tube. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that is enough of the liquid in the bottom of the tube. Okay, now the rest of the liquid in this NMR tube, and we can rest that in the flask, is going to be NMR solvent. Okay, so use the stock Pasteur pipette, draw some up, very carefully not to contaminate the pipette with your sample. Add the solvent, like so. Now, if you're wondering how much, about the height of 3 fingers. So I'm going to add a little bit more. All right. Perfect. Now I'm going to add a cap to the top. And you can shake it up a little, and your sample is ready to go over to the spectrometer. Now let's look at sample preparation when we still have a liquid, but we don't have very much. So we have concentrated our reaction mixture, and you can see there's some orange oily liquid in here, but there's not very much. So here's what we're going to do. Once I have the mass and all the other information from this sample, what I'm going to do is add my NMR solvent directly to the flask, and then go from the flask to the tube. Alright, so once again, I don't want to contaminate the stock pipette of solvent, so draw up about 1 pipette full. Just squirt that right in. Swirl until it's dissolved. Okay, and then grab a fresh pipette and draw up the sample and introduce it to the NMR tube. I've got a bit too much here, so I'm going to pour some of that out. I'm a little over 3 fingers height, but that is certainly fine for our instrument. Rough and tough, 3 fingers height is good. Alright, so that's another way to make a sample from a liquid. So I'll show you how to make up the NMR sample. We can take our solid, just grab a little bit on the end of the spatula, put it in a clean, dry vessel. It doesn't really matter what it is. So solids are helpful to do it like this. Then take the deuterated chloroform, a little less than a pipette full, and just add that right in. Swirl it to dissolve. And then I have an NMR tube, just propping it up. Use a clean pipette to suck up my solution. Helps to grab it like this and get that into the NMR tube. So this is the NMR room. It is across the hall from the organic lab. I just wanted to show you the spectrometer. So on the right is a box, that's the actual spectrometer. We're going to put our sample inside it, and it's controlled by the computer on the left. Let's look close up at the NMR spectrometer. If we lift this lid, this is where the sample is. Here's a silver tube where the sample is inside. There's a button and a lever, which I'll try to show you close up in a second. button is here. The lever is here. The lever only goes 90 degrees. It's a little bit snappy. That's putting it back to its original position. The button is here. So when it's your turn to use the spectrometer, you want to have a hand ready to catch the sample and press the button. Okay, remove that sample. Put yours in. Check it in the depth checker. Push the sample down until it hits the bottom. That's the right height. Then place the sample over the silver tube. Let go. And then I find the easiest thing to do now is take that lever, turn it at 90 degrees, and the sample goes into the tube. It can be hard to see. There is a flashlight here. There we can see the red cap of the sample. Okay. When the lever has been pushed, it's not spinning. So we put the lever back into its original position. And we want to check to see if the sample is spinning. Okay, it's easier to see this in person. There are some marks on the spinner that are like spokes, and if it's spinning, you cannot see those spokes. If they are not spinning, you can. All right. So one more time, if we eject a sample, press the button. Ready to touch the sample. To insert the sample, rest it here. Move the lever to make the sample spin. Put the lever back to its original position. Use the flashlight and check and see if it's spinning. Once your sample is inserted, you come to the computer. Now there are two programs that are usually open. One of them often looks like a spectrum you're used to be seeing. This is in nuts. And the other looks unfamiliar, like some squiggles. And this is the program that collects the raw data. It's NMR. This is the one we want to start with. So just click on that window, type ZG, enter, and then we're going to hit enter just to save over that file name again. Or you could have clicked save. Now this box will turn green as it's collecting the data. So there, it's collecting the data. It will update, and this line should turn squiggly when the data has been acquired. If that line stays flat when the box updates, then you need to grab the instructor to make an adjustment. But here, I've got squiggles, they're blue, all is well. If those squiggles were red, you'd need to grab the instructor to make an adjustment as well. But this is the expected situation, and now, to view your data in a form you're used to looking at, you want to click on nuts. So that's this back program. Now it's still showing me what I originally saw. This is the person before me, their data. So to import mine, I hold Control down with the F1 button. So that processes my data automatically. So you can type your name in the comment box, click OK, and that sends it to the printer. Sometimes you have to hit OK again.